I'm interested in because you wrote a crime fiction novel.
Great
It's
that you
called
mentioned it. Dun, da, da, da.
Right, I love it.
Okay, so go
That
ahead.
looks good. So it's called Blood on the Badge, a police crime fiction novel.
Right.
And so it takes this guy, Matt O'Neill. He left the military and becomes a police officer in a quiet suburb outside of Chicago. And so I'm just curious, how much of this is taken from your life?
It's a question I get all the time. So about 50% is realistic. The other 50% is obviously true fiction. The 50% that's my real life is, again, 37 years with this police department right there in every unit except for one. And some of the readers have gone, I don't know, John, really? Did that really happen? And every cop reader that I have who has contacted me has come back and go, you know what? This same thing happened to me. I can't believe it.
Conversations with indie authors.
So it's unreal. Like, there's a part in here, we're going to do something, and they're all fired up, ready to search. And Matt reaches for the doorknob, and the guy rack a shotgun behind him. That actually happened to me. And people are like, oh my God, what'd you do? I go, we had a little talk afterwards, the guy with the shotgun and myself, and we got it straightened out, if you know what I mean. And that'll never ever happen again to anyone. Trust me. So that's a great question. 50% true, 50%, fictional justice, we call it in the business, right? So
Absolutely, absolutely.
thank you.
That's fantastic. So were you in the military as well?
I was never in the military. People go, well, a lot of the stuff is really authentic. Knowing the millimeter, the gun, the bullets is called research and Google. Thank goodness. If I didn't have Google, I left out one key component. Where I live, I'd be in the library a lot. I walk up to the librarian and go, all right, I need a little research on this or a little research on that. So they got to the point where they see me getting off the elevator and they'd be like, oh my God, here he comes again. Now what is he going to ask us? Come on. So I was on Google, did a lot of research. And that's another thing too, is that people, law enforcement and military, love authenticity. We hate watching, like, I'm not going to mention any show in particular. We like, you don't wear your gun belt like that. You don't put your handcuffs back there. Come on, it got to be up in the front. So we're very, very big on making sure it's very, very realistic for the reader.
Oh, that's awesome. Was
Thank you.
that part of your publishing process?
I'm sorry, one more time.
What was that? Was that part of your publishing process, is going through and getting the authenticity?
It was that the publisher said, you know what, we like to put things out, and that when people buy your book and other people buying other law enforcement books go, no, no, don't buy John Good's book. It's full of baloney or nonsense and things that aren't true. So this really, really, again, hammered it home and makes it more real. That when I'm doing a book signing anywhere and someone walks up and they go, hey, and they show me a badge and they go, I appreciate your book, what we've heard about it, and it's more realistic than the other ones, it's home. It hits home. It really does. That's what took me so long to write it. It's like over 12 years. I went through a divorce, some other things came up. So it just took a lot of time to get it all down the right way.
Well, I bet that feels good then.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, do we have a part two? When's part two coming out?
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. Part two is called Blood on the Coffin. So people go, well, who's alive in part? You're killing everyone in part one. I mean, come on. You have to buy part one to see who's alive for part two. And part two will be a much shorter version. And I like it. I think with anything you do in life, you get better and better after the first time of trying and doing something. And again, I just have more context now. I've gone to writers' conferences and appeared and spoke, and then I'll make a contact either there or afterwards. And I think you'll be very, very happy with Blood on the Coffin. Book number 3 for 2026 will be Blood on Their Hands. So this whole thing is all thought out. It's not just, well, you guys as authors just kind of wing it a little bit. No, our publishers like to have all the information ahead of time so they can kind of plan.
So we have, this is the trilogy? Is that the end of it after the third one? Like,
well, it all depends. You know, when someone picks up the rights to a movie, hopefully, or a TV series, my agent has been pushing it in Hollywood. And, you know, we don't believe it's, you know, capable of MGM capability or anything like that at all. But it could be something on Lifetime, because the angle that many readers miss is that they go, well, is it a war book? Because here was a Navy SEAL former. Is it a cop book? To me, believe it or not, I also think it's a love story, you know, between with Matt and his beautiful wife, you know, and she has her career, he's got his career, you know, she's a nurse, and, you know, and people like the nursing angle. I've actually appeared at a nurses conference and they loved it as well too. And then just to see how the whole thing, you know, meshed, and to see just what happens to Mrs. O'Neill in the book. Who knows, you know? But I'm not going to give away. I don't kiss and tell. I'm not giving away too much, but you have to find it. So I think a couple of readers have said to me when they've seen me at a writers' conference, we read your book, we loved it, we cried. I would say no more about that. It was just that they loved the connection with, you know, the O'Neills, as I'll call it, and leave it at that. So it has a wide variety of different things to it. And it could be a Lifetime miniseries. It could be a wide variety of things. We can work with whoever wants to, you know, and go from there. And we have had some offers, but at that time we rejected them because they were very, very, you know, just unaffordable for us at this very, very nature. Hopefully down the road, when more people fall in love with the book and love Blood on the Coffin, we'll entertain it at that time.
that's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
I find with all of these like military, law enforcement, you know, fire department, all of these types of jobs tend to attract the same kinds of people. They usually have that same kind of sense of humor. So I can see how having all of them all together in a book would actually make sense. They would all get along in pretty much the same fashion.
It's a great point. And we're actually seeing that with our readers as well, too. I'm not saying why I'm saying our readers, but my readers, again, when I'm at a writer's conference or a book signing, you can sense in the audience that afterwards when I'm shaking hands or signing books, they love that interaction. They love the humor, but they love the suspense that goes with it too, along with the love story component as well. So it just meets the requirement for everybody, anybody. So the readers have been military and first responders, and of course the general public.
That's amazing.
Thank
So
you.
how many what upcoming writers, what is it, of book signings, how many do you have coming up?
Well, we got something called West Coast Signing out in the Seattle area, and there's always a huge conference called ButcherCon, and there's a separate conference called CrimeCon. So it's trying to fit a lot of different things time-wise, as well as getting some leisure and travel involved in as well too, to refresh the batteries a little bit. I'm always looking for different ideas. So again, we have a website up with that, with the book. So just follow along on the website and it'll be available for you in the public, and we'll let you know. But again, I am not committed to any book signings right now, depending on, I'd like to go, quite frankly, with book number 2. I don't see book number 2 hitting the market until later on in 2024. Everything's about 80% done. So I don't want to just show up again with book number 1. Well, wait a minute, we've already seen this one. Where's the new one? So we'll just reevaluate my agent publisher and see where we want to go and spend 2024 to make sure that it's productive and meets the market's need.
Are you finding a lot of success going to like like you said, the CrimeCon and that types of thing?
Yes, it works out very, very well, because the public, the thing that surprised me the most, the first one that I ever went to was called CrimeCon. It was in Las Vegas, that quiet little town where hardly anyone goes to visit, of course. it was crazy because it was time when the NFL had their draft. So we had some extra people, but I was expecting the macho, military, all and law enforcement first. A lot of my readers are women, and I was shocked at the audience there in attendance who were really, really into it. Not just buying my book, but other authors' books too, all in the same genre. But really, like I said, I don't know how I can explain it better, but I asked someone who was standing there, they just, maybe have a little more time, whatever the reason may be. But yeah, it was shocking, both the Crime Con and at ButcherCon, the percentage is like about 65% women and the other 35% being men. I thought it'd be just the opposite, 65% men and really into it and really want to know more about the characters and things like that and development of it. So it's a great feeling, a really, really wonderful feeling. So it just changed my whole writing style a little bit too, knowing I've got to write more towards, that type of reader. So
So how
again,
do you find the writing process? Do you enjoy the process of writing and the research and everything in there?
I do. It's actually like a full-time, no, it's not full-time, but it's like a part-time job. I started writing when I was still on the police force, uh, North Shore suburb of Chicago. And when I would be um come home and I would say to myself, okay, I've always gone by, you got to write 35 words a day. Now, some days it was hard to get 35 words, tired or worked extra. Other days it just flowed. And my writing style is I write it out first, and then I put it in, of course, the computer and do it that way. And the other thing too is I'm proud of the fact that not 1 minute, I repeat, not 1 minute of my writing ever took place in the squad car. Now, an idea may pop in my head. I may have gone on a call and say, you know what, for book number 2, that might be a nice something to pursue, but nothing where I was sitting there because I didn't want to deprive the public who was paying me very, very well to protect them and help them out. So again, yeah, I take a lot of pride in that. I have heard of other authors who were former law enforcement who would spend time, if it was a quiet night, working on their book. No, there's always something to do. Either, because the number one complaint from the public is we never see you enough. We never see you come down our street. We never interact with you, other than maybe going into you get a cup of coffee. But so I made it a point of, again, no writing while on duty. And 12 hours shifts are a long time. Let me tell you, so especially in the wintertime. But all in all, like I said, I'm very, very proud of it. It was a part-time job. And no matter what I came home, no matter how I was feeling, it was 35 words got written down for day after day after day.
That's awesome. That's actually very, very cool that you could do that. I've heard some writers, they're like, okay, I said I was going to write this much a day. I have nothing.
Like I said, you know what? It's just you got to push yourself. It's like, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. You know that going in. And as long as you get those 35 words down, you can review them later on that night or whatever. But yeah, it's actually, and I've had a lot of accomplishments in my life. Get my master's degree from my college, and I've raised 2 great kids, and one's giving me a grandson. But next to those, writing a book, a number of people again at a writers' conference walk up to you and go, oh, I always wanted to do that. How could you do that and balance your life? It's just either, put your foot down and say, I'm going to get it done. Or a number of people have said to me, I had it halfway done. I threw it away. I couldn't finish it, whatever reason. So yeah, it's a very, very proud moment for me.
That is a very proud moment because that is one of the hardest things is either actually writing it or you have it done and then publishing it.
And every writer, and you go, John, are you sure every writer I've ever spoken to or looked at has, you're working on it now, you've written it, you put it in the computer, and you're typing it at 1 o'clock in the morning, and you're going, no one's going to read this. This is terrible. Oh my God, this is how can you even waste your time with this? Every writer, I don't care. I've never met Patterson. I'm not going to lie to you. I've never met, some other ones, Scott Turow, but the ones I have interacted with have said the same thing. They're writing, they're like, oh no, and they take it out and they print it, they throw it away and start over like in the movies. So that's really, really true. So my only advice to every future writer is, if I could do it, you can do it as well too. Just take the time, be persistent, and try and get, like I said, 30, 35 words a day. And before you know it, you've got a book. And you're like, marketing it. So it's great. Thank you.
Are you enjoying the marketing part? I think that's a tough thing for authors.
It is. There's no doubt about it. It's not so much the travel. It's just I'm loving it because, again, you get a chance to interact. You get a chance to, for them to say to you, and I've had some people go, way too long, way too long. I would have started doing things differently and this and that. I go, okay, great. So my brother, who graduated from the Northwestern with a degree in journalism, who should have been the writer, instead I'm the writer. I was out one time and someone who I thought was a friend, said to me, I bought your book. I was really disappointed in it. Like, excuse me? Yeah, like I said, it was way too long, blah, blah, blah. And, really made me feel like, so I called my brother. I was so crushed. He goes, really? I go, yeah. And he goes, did you ask her when her book is coming out? I go, I did. And he goes, what did she say? Oh, I never do that. I never do that. He goes, until you put your toes in the water and actually experience it, then, you got to take, of course, constructive criticism. On the other hand, you also have to realize you can't make everyone happy. You can't make everyone happy. It's like I said earlier, though, I will make book number 2 shorter, and I'm not going to say anything else about book number 2.
Well, I'm excited for book number 2. Where can we find you online?
Oh my God. Should have had it right here in front of me. But believe it or not, I was working on book number 2 and I got distracted. So by all means, okay, hold on. I'm sorry for turning my back to you. So let's go for, of course, you can find me online at Crime Author, all one word, johngood.com. Repeating, Crime Author, johngood.com. Wonderful Facebook page. And again, by all means, leave a message. That's probably appearing in the future. Big deal, please, about the business card. I'm very, very impressed with it, how it matches the book cover. So crimeauthorjohngood.com. And again, nothing between now. I've got some minor little surgery coming up in January, the first week, which will give me even more time to work on Blood on the Coffin and finish Blood on the Coffin and start outlining, book number 3. So again, my surgeon even said to me, don't screw this up. Just take it easy, work on your books, go on your Facebook page, promote. And that's where we're going to be going with that. So hopefully, again, you go there, you'll see everything you need to know about me.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for spending time with us and telling us about, and you know what? I want to hear when your next book comes out. So get in hold of me so we could have another conversation on here.
I love it. You have a great day, and thank you for happy holidays and having me on. All right.
Happy holidays to you. Thank you.
The Zarlequan Indieverse.